Hi there, I am Sarah Jane Case, and I'm the host of your new favorite show, Enneagram and Coffee. This podcast is dedicated to discussing the beautiful and hard parts of being human. We discuss the Enneagram, a personality map that is taking over the world, for increased self-compassion, personal growth, and healthier relationships. Listen to Enneagram and Coffee on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk, a literary podcast where we have been deep diving into your favorite novels.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
This summer, we are talking to some of our and TikTok's favorite authors. In our Summer of Love series, we'll be chatting with best-selling authors about their books, characters, and more. Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, death, and depression will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. Kate Golden lives in Los Angeles, where she works full-time in the film industry, developing stories with screenwriters and filmmakers. A Dawn of Onyx is her debut novel, and the first in the Sacred Stones trilogy. In her free time, she's an avid book reader, movie fanatic, and functioning puzzle addict. An embarrassing LA cliché, she likes to hike, brunch, and go to the flea market with her husband and her puppy. Welcome to the show, Kate!
Welcome.
Hi.
Although I don't think it's a
Hello,
cliche
hello.
because we do the same thing and we also live in LA.
I also had a lot of people tell me that that sounds like she likes pina coladas and long walks on the beach. And I have to edit I wrote my bio so long ago. I have to change it.
I connect with it. I relate. So I think it's fine.
Okay, great. Then it's doing its job.
Yes. So welcome, Kate. Thank you so much for joining us. Just kind of giving our audience a little background. We saw your book on TikTok a couple times being referenced and everything. And, it's always been on like the TBR, but then you reached out and then Amy and I read your book and official obsession began. So freaking happy about it. I know it's been, if it's on your TBR, guys, you have to go and just put it to the top of the list. Like, go read it now. This is not a TB. This is an R.
Thank you. That's so kind.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you reached out to us and you were like, please read this. And we're like, okay, we'll read it happily. Kate, for our listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself and how or when you got into writing.
Yeah, totally. Well, okay, first of all, thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me, for reading it, for all the kind words. Let's see. Okay, a little about myself. I feel like it was covered pretty well in that bio, which now I'm starting to come around to because I'm like, I am from LA. I do I do work in Hollywood. But that pretty much, sums up me. I was not an author until very recently. I didn't go to school for it. I went to school in New York to study film and spent, everything post-college up until now working on stories in that capacity, working at a studio in movies and television. And then it's kind of a funny story, and I allude to it a little in like the acknowledgments of the Dawn of Onyx, but I basically, I think a lot of people, became obsessed with fantasy romance during the pandemic. I was always like a huge reader, the kind of like person that from, 9, always had a book on my bedside table, and often fantasy and often romance, but not the blend.
Yeah.
Which I think it happened to a lot of people, I feel like, during the pandemic. I don't know if it was TikTok or what.
I feel like it's a newer genre too, the fantasy romance, where it's like, I can have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, totally. For me, it wasn't ACOTAR, although, of course, then ACOTAR really, solidified it. It was Outlander, which I guess isn't fantasy, but it felt, there's, a magical realism. She jumps through time.
Mm-hmm.
And then A Discovery of Witches, some of those books. And then it was, the whole SJM world. And then I had, a terrible book hangover. I couldn't find anything that was, scratching the itch.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff and there's nothing against either of these things. It's just, as I'm sure we all know, it's like mood readers. It just wasn't the thing I was looking for. But there were a lot of things that were really great spice and kind of there was no plot.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a lot of stuff that was great epic fantasy and nobody was kissing.
Yes.
It was neither of this is what I want. Neither of these are what I want. So I was on a trip with my, then fiance, now husband, and was venting about it because I brought like 15 books for this 5-day vacation and read one chapter of each, was like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, you work in story, like write the thing what do you want to read? And so we just sort of like jokingly, or like not jokingly, but for fun, came up with a premise. I was like, okay, here are my favorite things. I love when these things happen. I love a strong female character who has to become strong. She doesn't just start strong. Like I love Katniss, but I wouldn't be Katniss. Like I wouldn't just come out of the gate, like hunting for my family and throwing myself in front of people. Like I have panic attacks. Like I would be anxious and freaked out. So I like characters like that. Was like, I love, the guy who seems like he's a monster, but really he's, like, you, like to my fiance, like a loving, thoughtful, patient man, not, like the crazy raging asshole. And so I started just like coming up with this story and then was having a lot of fun and didn't want it to be over. So I wrote it. And then once it was finished, I didn't want anyone to see it because I was like, this has got to be crap. Like for sure, this is insane. And I shared it on the beta readers subreddit just to like find somebody to take a look and tell me how much it was crap, and was surprised by a decent amount of very kind people saying, I think this is pretty strong and here's some notes and some feedback. And I worked on it. And then this is the long version, but essentially then I decided like I wasn't ready to, tell my employers, like I didn't want people to know that I was writing, like smutty fairy stories. So I self-published it under a pen name. Around that time, by the way, sent it to everyone, including you guys and anyone that I could. I was like, read this book, it's a real book, and was really surprised by the positive reaction, and then ended up, finding a home at a publisher, and the rest is history.
I love that your solution to fixing your book hangover is to cause that to other people. So, I mean,
oh no,
you're paying forward the book hangover, basically.
Yeah, it's like those horror movies, like you give the curse to somebody else.
It really was, because it hits all of the parts that I need. Like it's just such a. It checks off the boxes. So, I mean, I love hearing the origin of that and the fact that it was a brainstorming session between you and your husband. Was there a moment when you were just like, Arwen, that's you? Like you connected with her because she's so real in so many ways. Like she's not a trope. She's not like just some random character. She's not two-dimensional. She's real. You know what I mean? And is there a moment when you're like, this is her story I want to tell?
Yeah, I think it was not so much on that trip where I was like, here are all the sort of tropes and moments and things that I like, but it was when I actually sat down to start writing, because I sort of also don't like those characters that feel like, overly tropey, or I think the term is Mary Sue, or not so much that they can't be. I like a flawed character, as I think a lot of people do, because you see yourself in them. But I also didn't want to write me because if anything, I'm Mari. Like I'm very type A, and if you can't already tell, like a little chatty. So I also like didn't want to write myself. But I think I found her and understood her when I understood her childhood, as I think you do with like a lot of characters. I was like, okay, here's a girl who never, in any, aspect of her life, not romantically, not with her parents, not with her siblings, not even in her career, like has felt seen or understood or taken care of. Yeah. She has always had to be that for other people. And whether that's born out of, a childhood of abuse, or because some of it is self-inflicted because she sort of told everyone like, I'm fine. Let me take care of everyone else. Suddenly you're looking at someone who's 20 and sort of like has not really hasn't done a lot of the work that she needed to be happy or to be secure. And, I think once I understood that, I was like, oh, I get this person. I know where she needs to go. I know why she hasn't yet. I know who will need to help get her there. Yeah. And then I think the only thing that sort of, we have some things in common because I think, Arwen has a lot of sort of like unwavering positivity, which I, for better or for worse, sometimes will have. I'll be like, it's going to be fine. Everyone's like, no, everything's on fire. I'm like, oh, it's fine. But also, she suffers from panic attacks, which is something that I have dealt with since I was 9. And it's not like a dramatic sounding thing. It's just like a strange balance of chemicals in my brain, but like I will just get them and they're the worst. And I never, except for actually in A Discovery of Witches, I haven't read any books about female characters who have panic attacks like she does. So that was another part where I was like, okay, I really understand this person because I see myself in them in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a beat. I had to kind of start writing to find her.
No, it makes sense. Especially, and I think like the way that you described it, I hope we were recording. It could have been during our pre-talk. We had a great pre-talk before this, guys. But you say that you didn't want her to just start off strong. Oh yeah, like Katniss, like out of the out of, and you can see her build strength. And I'm going to try to allude to things without giving away too many spoilers. But what I like is that she gets strong physically, but doesn't master it right away. Like, like she can put up a good fight, but a couple months of like learning a few things doesn't mean you're suddenly going to be a master of it. Like there is a real build there.
Totally. I mean, we all like love Aelin, like we love a like badass, destroyer of worlds, like conqueror of, whatever. And even Feyre, like if we're sticking with the Sarah Maas sort of space, like she's a really strong character. Like you meet her and she has taken care of her sisters. I also don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't read Act.
Oh no,
but like,
don't worry. This audience has, so.
I figured. But she's taking care of her family from the get in place of her mother. And when that wolf breaks into their house, like she's the one with her butter knife pointed at him. Like she's a strong character too, and so is Bryce. Like all of these women, and a lot of the women that I think populate fantasy novels in general are sort of like really tough and really strong, and that's one of what's so impressed about them. And I think I was little like, I just want to see someone get there. Like I want to see somebody grow to that. And I think that that's an interesting journey, and it's tricky because sometimes, I'll see people who talk about, A Dawn of Onyx. And they're like, I love this book, but the main character, like she's so naive. Like she sees everything so black and white. And I'm like, correct. Like, yeah, she does. She's grown up in a town of probably like less than 1,000 people. Like, I don't think she's learned a lot about the world. So for me, I was excited to see her grow, but that also you have to sort of have faith that your audience will like want to stick around for that, because sometimes, it can be disappointing that like she isn't the one, killing people and taking names, so you have to like, you just have to tell your readers, through some kind of subtext, like she'll get there. Have faith in her, don't worry.
Have faith.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? For Dawn of Onyx, you have over 11,000 reviews on Goodreads.
Last we checked, it might be more now, to be honest.
It might be more now. And it's still growing. And that's really, really impressive for a debut novel. So obviously you're doing something right. Readers have connected with the story and with Arwen, even if she starts out weak and, very narrow mindset. So that being said, what do you feel like, what was the magic sauce that you think drew people in? I mean, you obviously, it seems like you didn't expect it based on
did not.
Based on your journey. But
no, absolutely not.
Maybe like what are the things that people have said that they relate to the most?
Yeah. A couple things. I mean, it's funny you mentioned the Goodreads reviews, because I remember when I self-published it and sent the book to, book talkers and bookstagrammers and made TikToks. I had told myself, I mean, this is the previously mentioned type A craziness that was discussed, but I like looked up a lot of my favorite books in the genre, and I looked at when they came out and how many Goodreads reviews they had. And I was like, okay, it seems like in, a 6-month period, if I can get 1,000 reviews, that will have meant that my book did well, right? And
we did the same thing with the podcast.
We did the same thing with the podcast.
Okay, it makes me feel less alone. Well, I'm like, I need a barometer of like if this is legitimate,
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel so much better. Anyway, so I was like, okay, here are books that I loved, that I devoured, and in 6 months of being out, they got 1,000 ratings. Like that's great, 1,000 ratings. And actually, I just hit. It came out December 15th, so 6 months would have been June 15th, so like 10 days ago. And obviously, it has more than that, more than 1,000. So like I've been totally floored by it. I like am totally surprised. and just over the moon. I mean, like, so happy. More so, and this sounds phony, but it's so true. More so, not because like, oh, my book's successful, people like my book, because it's not. And there's books that have, you know, 1 million. Like, it's not. It's all relative. But more so, because I'm like, oh my gosh, at least 11,000 people like read this and enjoyed it. They had a great experience, or hated it, but still like had some kind of positive experience because they, you know, read it.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels really, there's a wonderful feeling of like knowing that you got to give somebody like a couple hours of escape into a world that, you know, was fun and different. And, you know, that alone is like such a great feeling. Why I think people connected to it, I don't know. I mean, I have theories, and, you know, some of it probably is taken from what I've heard, like you said, you know, that people have told me, but I think it's a couple things. One, I think people like that blend of the two, of the fantasy and the romance that we had talked about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like definitely not a super, super smutty read, which like it doesn't just rely on that to be propulsive. It's also not like so aggressively world building focused that you have to like power through 3 chapters, like feel like a textbook to even just know where you are. I struggle with books like that. I think frankly, TikTok has like shredded my attention span. So it's hard for me sometimes. I sit down to read something like I'm trying to get through Priory of the Orange Tree, which I'm sure is amazing.
I can't get through it.
Oh my God. Okay, me either.
Yeah,
I feel like an idiot, but I can't do
like
it.
3 times, and each time I can't. Yeah, it's just heavy. It's a lot.
I mean, the first sentence I had to reread twice because I'm like, wait, who is that and what are they? And it's no fault to the author. I mean, the book is like a major award-winning novel, like unbelievably well regarded. It's my attention span, like it's my brain. But I wanted to give people, I think, a book that they could like jump right in, get a good sense of the world, build it over time. So I think that blend of like just the right amount of fantasy and hopefully the right amount of spice. And I think with the spice, like more romance focused than spice focused. Like I'm sure we've all picked up a book where it's like, it's a fantasy world and then they're like immediately having sex in the forest and you're like, cool, but this is, you know, I think that like, yeah, the romance is the fun, you know, the flirtation and the will they, won't they, and the chemistry that builds between them and the banter.
I mean, they don't even like discuss branches, you know, like the thorns that could get in places. Like, come on.
Nobody wants that. Nobody really wants, you know, I mean, yeah, I think that is a big part. I also think that like they're another kind of blend. It's like familiar enough that it's sort of scratching the itch of some stuff I think we all love, the dark academia, the, you know, witches and fae and, you know, dragons and creatures that, you know, you've sort of come to expect, castles you've come to expect, you know, certain tropes and places and moods that you're looking for, but then also kind of different and original takes on like fae and world building and setting up kind of systems that you haven't read before. I think that blend is helpful because when it's like too familiar, you're bored. And when it's too new, you're kind of like, is this really what I wanted?
I understand that because there was definitely a point, and again, I hope this isn't a spoiler, but I like to read while my roommate plays Zelda because it's like peaceful music for me.
Wait, I also love Zelda.
Oh, I like watching her play Zelda. So I like.
You should play Zelda too. It's for a separate conversation, but it's amazing.
It's very peaceful to read to it. But like there was one point where I like, so whenever there's be moments, I just like put my book down and just be like, oh my God, this happened. We just did a who did this to you. We just got a who did this to you. And it's like a thing that we all know and love. But again, you do it in a way that it makes it feels original, where I'm like, oh, you guys, it just happened. But, you know, it goes back to what you're saying. Like, at the end of the day, it's the world building, right? Like, if I can believe the world and I can believe the plot, then I can believe, you know, these moments that like I eat up and I just absolutely adore. And, you know, some authors definitely spend a lot of time with their world building, but it's like too much to consume. But at the same time, Evandale.
I, by the way, say Evandale in my mind, but nobody I've ever talked to says that. So I think like the people have chosen and it's Evandale.
No, we're going with what you say. I get bullied a lot.
No, I don't. I'm not the reader. I have no idea.
You can do whatever. Evandale feels convincing without it being overbearing. and without the like overbearing world building details. Like it just, all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. There's dragons. I'm here. You didn't have to explain this to me.
Yeah.
How do you strike that balance when writing?
I don't know. I feel like this podcast, I'm like, man, I'm so self-involved because the answer to all the questions are just like, it's what I like.
You're like,
So it's
I'm
what
just
I
really
wrote.
good at it. But you are. You are good at it.
No, I actually was not. No, I mean, like, it's just, I write the thing that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like super complex world building where I have to like flip pages back to try to remember, like, does the mage or the wizard, like, I don't want, that much mental pressure, but I also don't want to be like spoon fed something stupid. So I try to, strike that balance for myself when I'm writing and then, hope that's what readers want too. I think another thing is like, two things. One, trying to craft a world that makes sense based on like the logistics like of our world. Like if you ever listen to Brandon Sanderson talk about like how he creates religions in his writing, so much of it is like tied to our, modern day understanding of like different religions and what they have in common and what different like locations have made the same thing be interpreted differently. I think that like trying to think about that when it comes to, like there are little things, and I don't think these are spoilers. If these are spoilers,
No, go ahead. Tell us any
but,
spoiler you want.
No, by the way, I'm going to disappoint you because it's not a juicy spoiler. But like, Arwen's mom is often, scolding her children for their language because she'll say bleeding stones or like holy stones because their town or their kingdom is one of the more like devoutly religious kingdoms, and that's based on like where it is geographically in the map, because if you look, the ones that are like more coastal or that have more like trade ports, they're they prioritize things above religion, unlike this town which like really prioritizes like holiness and the deities and the stones. So, and like, again, maybe spoilers, probably not. Later you'll find like different people that they meet along their journey believe in different things that are similar, but they're different because of where, those towns were and what those, political systems were. So I try to center my world building around stuff like that, like things that feel similar to our modern day world. And then the other, sort of element of the world building is like piecemeal it, like there's like one line in the beginning that like this kingdom might have, beasts. And it's sort of like, haha, yeah, that's like the boogeyman, sure. And then later you learn that that's true. And then in the next book, we learn to what extent. And then, maybe later in that book, we learn why this, kingdom has all those beasts or why they're there, whatever. So I think not just like info dumping too much too soon makes it easier.
It's almost like levels. It's like Mario leveling up just a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, totally.
It makes so much sense though to like almost start in the thing that forms our world, and that's religion and politics.
Yeah.
And if you can kind of have that established, then our mind's already made to just like fall into that. And it makes sense that a coastal town would get more visitors, would hear more point of views. So everything you just said was one big like, oh yes, that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad. And I think also like, it's so important to also like not like rank anything. It's like none of these towns like, or none of these kingdoms or none of these communities are like lesser or more because like they understand the religion better or because they understand the trade better because they have a better army or because they
I don't know. Amber's pissed me off, so they can like fuck off. They've angered me.
They don't have great leadership at the current moment, but it's like constant fall. If you're like a Halloween girly, that's a pretty cute place to live.
Damn, that's true. That's true. I do love autumn. My sinuses are so much better there. My allergies can handle it.
Even people in medieval times, they had allergies, so you're not alone.
Truth.
That I never thought about it, but you're right.
I'm going to think about that a lot tonight.
Yeah, I do. So you touched on Cain a little bit earlier when you were talking about your brainstorm with your fiance, now husband, as you were developing this book. And Jack and I have talked about it. We loved reading Cain. He's the perfect mix of tall, dark, broody, possessive, but also sweet on the inside. I would call him a Tootsie Pop. He's like crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside.
Totally.
He's a Tootsie Pop. But also, as we kind of talked about in our pre-talk before we were recording, it's like so cruel. Things get spicy and then you just like shred us apart. And so was this during yes, it was during our pre-talk. You talked about drawing it out, and so that was that always the intention? Or was there a different inspiration for the relationship that Kane and Arwen have?
Yeah. It was always the intention. They were never going to sleep together in this book.
I needed that second half of that sentence. They were never going to sleep together. Wait, what? Okay, in this book. Okay, thank God.
I can't say anything about anything else. All I can say is that I didn't want them to have sex in this first book because I love a slow burn. I want these people to want to like claw their eyes out. They want each other so badly.
Yeah.
I want that in my TV shows, in my movies, in the books that I read. I want it in my own relationship. You should ask my husband. I'm like, you have to work for this. That is the fun. I love the chase. I want the drama. It's toxic. I don't care. That's what I'm like into.
Yes.
And I'm so disappointed when like immediately whatever couple I'm shipping and whatever thing I'm watching or reading like get together too quickly, because no matter how much the creators think they can sustain the chemistry, it always dwindles a little bit. And I think about a lot why, as I'm sure you guys do, like why everybody loves A Court of Mist and Fury, why it's like the gold standard of books in this genre. Obviously, reasons, there are a million reasons, and chief among them probably like incredible writing and world building and characterization, and people that characters you just love so deeply you feel like you know them like your own family. But also you're building towards her. I can spoil this, obviously.
Absolutely.
You're building towards Feyre and Rysand getting together from the moment she lays eyes on him in the first half of the first book. Like that is a slow burn, whether you knew you were rooting for it or not. That is like, I don't know if you're Game of Thrones fans, but like when you're building towards like Jaime Lannister, not even with Brienne, but like becoming warm and soft, like you're building to that from the pilot. He pushes a kid out a window and they're like, we're going to build towards this being a guy that you find hot. Like, mark my words. So that I think is a huge part of why that book is so good, because like you're slowly building on the chemistry. You're dismantling this like monstrous persona of him. Every time he says something a little nice or like a little sweet, you just melt. And that's what I love. So I really wanted to play with that with Kane. Like I wanted you to, not even know who he is initially, meet him in one way, then understand him through a whole different light, again, like without spoilers. I think I was always really drawn to that Tootsie Pop thing. Like I wanted him to feel, frightening, but like not phony. That's why I think also like a lot of what she thought of him had to be her own, perception, not that he like acted like a jerk and then for the back half of the novel suddenly like wasn't a jerk anymore, And so that I think was important. I liked, building the tension. I am enjoying building the tension in the second book. I won't say more about that, but that is something that I enjoy. But yeah, I always wanted to play with that. And then I think I also really wanted to create a character that was going to bring out all those things we talked about, in Arwen. Like who would be the kind of person to help her on that journey?
It's in one of your TikToks, which is funny because I saw the TikTok after I read it. You compared them to Damon and Elena from Vampire Diaries. And then the second, and you had like a scene like kind of playing out. And immediately I was like, yep, that's okay. I am like, I already figured, but at the same time, like that is exactly who it is. Like you're building up for the motel scene when they're running to each other with Florence and the Machine playing in the background. Never Let Me Go. I think about that scene a lot. And
daily.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're probably the closest comp like in media to Arwen and Kane. I mean, they're different, I think.
But they're still so different. Like they're close, but they're still so different.
Totally. But I think it's a really good comparison in that like Damon he is not actually like, once you finish the show, like you you know that all the things that he did that seemed so bad, they all kind of ended up making sense. It doesn't mean that they weren't wrong, but you understood where they came from, rather than, let's say, Spike from Buffy, if anyone who watches a Buffy fan, like that was an actual evil person who became unevil through lots of different, for lots of reasons. But I think that was the character I wanted to play with Kane, was somebody that, like, all their choices, all that impulsivity and selfishness and self-hatred was coming from somewhere that, eventually we could understand.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I love him.
Which just makes him easier to love, really.
It's true.
Like, you're just a big misunderstood baby. I get it.
I know. He's so cute.
I'm not going to lie. I was like kind of hoping you're like, no, he's absolutely based on this real person who I know who's single and is looking for someone who is
oh my God,
blonde, your height, a little extra curvy. What? Me?
I wish. You are not actually the first person who said to me, like, is this based on someone? And can you introduce me?
Yeah,
I'm always like, it's super not.
It's fiction. It's not.
It's fiction.
One of our other, like, Amy and I, like, one of our other favorite books that we've read is Kingdom of Exiles by S.B. Nova. That's another great fantasy slow burn. If you've ever highly
like writing this down.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. And she has like a brotherly character, and she said to us that it's based off of a real person. We're like, hold up.
You're like, and can I have his number?
Hello. So like, it's like, I'll take him. Like, he may not be the romantic lead, but I will still take him.
I'm romantically interested.
Yeah. He is my romantic lead.
Yeah, exactly.
So
okay, I'm excited. I need more books on my TV.
Highly, highly, highly recommend. She's fantastic. We interviewed her last year, and she was great.
A darling.
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. Okay, I'll read the book and then I'll listen to the interview.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
Okay, so we're going to take a slight turn from the train of thought because I don't have a cool segue for this question. But for book 1 of the series, you were with Daisy Press, and now you're with Berkeley. Can you tell us a little bit about your publishing journey?
Yes. So Daisy Press is just me. They just make you come up with a name for your publishing thing. And I like daisies, and that is that. I have nothing interesting behind that. I also liked it, like, pressing flowers in a book, which is something I did.
I got daisies here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. That's like we've come full circle.
Yeah. Oh, that was my
They
nails.
missed the pre-talk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No one
But
can see
we
what
have
I'm
so much in
doing.
common.
I showed my nails, guys. That was what it was.
And they're beautiful.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I self-published it, which was not actually too difficult. Like, there's a lot of great resources online and on Reddit, and I was able to sort of figure it out. Amazon has made it, pretty easy. I sound like I'm like sponsored by Amazon. I'm super not. I just was not. It's not. I want to encourage people who want to do it to go for it because it wasn't too hard. Honestly, the harder part was getting it to after I self-published it, it was like, okay, now you have to do all your own marketing.
Mhm.
And that making the TikToks was fun, and that sort of helped. But I think at the time I only had maybe like 1,000 followers. It wasn't like I had like a huge, following. But then I think what I really wanted to do was just get it to people who could talk about it. So I pretty much, like I sent to you guys, I pretty much just like wrote an email to every single like Instagram, blogger and TikToker that read these kind of books, and basically was like, I wrote this thing. I think it could be up your alley based on the stuff you like. I'll send you a free copy with like no pressure, no anything. You don't have to read anything. If you read it, great. And if you like it and want to talk about it, great. That's all. Like, that's it. And obviously, like, half of those people are really busy and they don't get it and goes to spam and they don't respond. But the other half, because the book world, especially the fantasy romance TikTok world, is such a like wonderful community. These people were so kind, and everyone was like, thank you so much, would love to check it out. Most of them read it and often had really lovely things to say and posted about the book, which was like, honestly, it's how the book got to be what it was. So I was incredibly grateful. And then it's kind of a weird story. How did this even end up happening? I have a friend, like I said, I work in, movies and TV. So I have a friend who works in media rights, which is like the business of, adapting or like getting books and articles and podcasts to the people who turn them into movies and television. And I didn't tell anybody, like nobody knew, because I write under this pen name. So we were just at dinner and I was like, I was going crazy to tell you I wrote a book and people are reading it. And she was like, you have to give me, your book, because this is the kind of stuff I like, whatever. So she read the book and she really liked it. And she's like, my professional opinion is like, you should get a book agent. And at the time I had started getting a lot of emails from like audio rights people and foreign rights people and translators, and people wanted to do press stuff. And I was just like in over my head and had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I sent everything to this girl, my friend, and she basically was like, you need an agent. So she sent the book to one agent. She was like, this is the person that you should work with. This is what she does. She's the best in the business. Like, I won't even tell her you're my friend. I'm just going to send her the book. I had zero hope that this person was going to represent me. I was like, the odds of this are slim to none. And like, whatever, 3 weeks later, she was like, Taylor loved your book. She wants to like meet with you. Oh my God. It was so like cool. maybe the best call I ever got in my life. I was beside myself. By the way, I also did not play it cool when I met with this agent. I was like, I love you and I love all the people you rep. And I don't know, I was like, did not have it together. And I met with her and she was really wonderful. And she brought another member of her team, Sam, and Sam was amazing too. And they basically were like, we think, your book will be successful in this space and we would love to find you a publisher. And I signed with them and they took my book out on submission. And that was a crazy thing because very quickly there was a lot of interest and a lot of really kind words. And we ended up having sort of some really incredible options and went with sort of like my dream pick, which was Berkeley, which is like, they published for me, like most of my favorite books, both in like the fantasy and romance and the blended space. And my editor, Christine, is like a genius and a lovely person. And she also is a Buffy fan. And it was like kismet. I just felt like the luckiest person in the entire world. And so we put that deal together. And then they are going to re-release a Dawn of Onyx October 10th, which will be the Berkeley edition. So there'll be like slight differences, but it's the same book.
So that'll be available in store? Or
yes, that'll be available worldwide. I also, with this, my wonderful Root team did these incredible deals. So there's going to be, the book will be published in like tons of languages. There'll be a Spanish version and Portuguese and Brazil and Italian. And I like don't have the list off the top of my mind, but pretty much almost, I feel like everything from like Hebrew to, Spanish, it's like there's so many languages it's being translated into. I feel again, like crazy lucky. It's wild. And an audiobook. So that will all come out October 10th in stores everywhere, online, yada, yada. And then in that edition will be bonus content. And I actually don't know if I'm allowed to share what that is yet. Maybe I can. I don't know. I will ask my...
you can, if you want to say it and then we can take it out, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that I can at least just give the sort of broad strokes, but there will be a piece of like totally original bonus content, possibly not from Arwen's perspective. So I feel like everyone can fill in. who that's from. And then there will be a excerpt from the second book as well.
I mean,
exciting.
I don't know if I need to edit this out. We'll send all this to whoever. But I feel like you teased in one of your
I think I
Instagram
put it in my Instagram.
that there's
I
going
think
to
I made this
be
clear.
some of Kane's point of view in book 2.
It's fully dual POV. The second and the third is both of their perspectives.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I would like to say that October 11th is my birthday. So this is a birthday. This is going to be a perfect present for me. I'll be in England at the time. So on my birthday, the day before my birthday, you will catch me in a bookshop and I will send you photos. And
oh my God, amazing. You'll buy the UK copy. Well, I did all of this for you. It's your birthday gift.
Oh my God, thank you. I didn't want to suggest it, but you said it. So
so that'll come out in October. And then the second book in the series will come out April 9th of next year. Wow. So 6 months later. And then the third and final book in the series will come out in the fall of next year as well. So again, that's only amazing. Like 6 months later.
All right.
So not we're too back, bad, right?
All right, we're back on track.
No torturous waits. I mean, I have been told by everyone like publishing is tough and you never know. And, that's why I'm not giving the specific date for the third book, but it'll be in the fall. And I think that, it won't be a terrible, terrible wait.
Yeah, no, I mean, it will be because I'll have to wait, but it won't be a long, terrible wait.
It won't be 2.5 years or whatever.
It won't be a certain other author who said 18 months and then she made it freaking longer. She who will not be named. Astria.
I used to be so devastated when that would happen. And now that I have for even 2 seconds been on the other side, I'm like, she's probably in revisions. Okay. She's struggling.
She also had a baby. So
she also had a baby and nobody knew. That's incredible.
Yeah. I got, until I know her, I will be difficult, but
no, I'm all for it. I support that. It's what she would want.
There you go.
Truly.
Yeah. We're doing it for her, for Sarah.
So you did mention earlier that you've done work on TikTok to promote the book, and I really admire your just guerrilla style. Will you please read it? Will you please read it? I think, success doesn't come overnight. You have to put in the work, and you've demonstrated that working connections and working the community has actually brought success. As you continue promoting the book on TikTok, what's your mindset, as you approach those videos? Is it about marketing, or is it about being part of the community? Or, do you have tips for other people who want to self-publish and market on TikTok?
Totally. Those are really thoughtful questions. It's interesting. When I started just going back one step, when I made those first handful of TikToks, it was honestly not marketing. It's so self-involved. I just loved my characters. I missed them. The book was done. And I didn't tell a single person in my life except for my husband about this. My parents didn't know, my friends didn't know. I was writing this book by not candlelight, but in the wee hours of the night on the weekends, telling people I had a lot of work to do, or I'm going to a yoga class, and just writing, two people stuck in a wine cellar.
She's really into yoga lately. I don't know.
Exactly. She's in yoga all the time. But she looks the same. Interesting. So I made the TikToks because I just wanted to sort of share this world and share this story. And it wasn't I could talk about other people. So I was actually making the TikToks long before I released the book. I think my first TikTok came out. Yeah, I'm remembering all this now. My first TikTok I posted, I think in August. And I was just having fun. And some people started being when does the book come out? And then randomly, with no intention of releasing it, I was winter. These are people who will never think of this TikTok again. And then it started happening so much that also was part of beginning the journey to self-publishing. So at that time, the TikToks were really just for fun. I liked watching them with, of other people's books. I liked making them. Once I released the book, or once I had begun the process and I had a release date, a pre-order date and all that stuff, then it really was okay, the TikToks are for marketing. And I would, scroll the feed, my own feed, and see which ones were doing well, and then try to, do similar stuff with mine, you know, okay, a scene, and then it cuts this short, or this song is trending, or this, you know, trend is trending. And then candidly, I really burnt out on it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really time consuming. Like sometimes, I mean, I would sit for like 12 straight hours making TikToks and then post, you know, one a day every day for however long it took me, 24 days, because I'd make a bunch. And like most of them would get, you know, something like 3,000 views. Like it did not feel fruitful.
Yeah.
And I got married 3 weeks ago. That's why we keep saying, you know, then fiance, now husband. So I was like planning a wedding, you know, promoting a first book, writing, and also writing a second book, and then also trying to get my, you know, publishing deal together and signing with Root and
That's
Berkeley.
busy.
And
doing my
a
job.
full-time job.
And a full-time
Totally.
job. Oh my God.
Yeah. It was kind of a nightmare. And so many people in my life had no idea that I was doing this book thing. So people would be like, why are you so busy? You know, and I would have to be like, And so at that point, the TikToks, I feel like, really fell off. And I wasn't making a lot of them. And then funny enough, when I got back from when my wedding was over, I realized I hadn't made one. This was maybe like 3 weeks ago. I hadn't made one in a while. And I was like leaving for dinner. I was like, I just got to make something quickly. Like, even if it doesn't do well, I just like have to remind people that this, you know, book is out there.
Yeah.
So I just took like a trending sound and I did one with like the Bill Hader dancing SNL thing. And it was my most viral TikTok I've ever done.
It has
like
over
2
million
views.
Yeah, it has like a lot of.
Oh, has it gone up? I haven't checked it in a while.
Yeah, I want to say it has like, you know what, now I have to check. Sorry, because I don't want to.
Isn't that so funny though? Like I truly did that like getting into the car. It was such a low effort TikTok. And I honestly did it because I thought it was just so funny.
I remember that.
It made
TikTok.
me laugh. So I'm so glad.
Yeah, no, it's at. Are you ready for this? You're at 2.9 million. It's almost at 3 million.
That is so insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
When that one popped up, I was so excited, and I was like, "Ooh!" And then I'm like, "Wait a minute, I read you."
You're like, "I've seen it."
No, it was like it made me excited. I was like, "Oh, wait, okay, yeah, no, but you're right." And
that sounds right.
You know, honestly, it was a great lesson in like, do the thing because you like to do it. Don't do it, you know, because you feel like you have to or whatever. Like the TikToks that I make because they genuinely make me laugh or because I think people will enjoy them. Or like you said, like they're for the community, a community that I love. You know, those ones do a lot better than when I tell myself like, you're not allowed to go out this weekend. You have to sit home and make TikToks.
Yeah.
And that's not to knock people. Like I know a lot of people do this for their living. They're full-time content creators. And I think when that's your work, I think it's different. But I feel like with cooking or writing or anything, you can feel the ones that don't feel like that feel like they're made to chase the trend or whatever.
Yeah. I do marketing for my daytime job and it's in social media. And, you know, early days when I had to be the one to actually do all the posting and stuff, it was just like people don't realize like how much content creators work to do it and how much and how hard it is. And just the burnout of it. It's so easy to burn out. And, you know, even when we make our own videos, when you're feeling it, and all of a sudden you're just like, I'm doing all these other ones versus the times when you're like, I haven't posted in a week and a half. I guess I should do something.
Totally. And it's also tough because I don't want to show my face because of this pen name thing.
I was trying so hard to hide your face.
Okay, it's so silly because who cares? I mean, 99% of people definitely don't care, but I am just so worried. I posted one a long time ago with my hand in it, and somebody that I'm not that close with sent it to me and was like, "Is this your engagement ring?"
Oh.
Yeah. And I had to be like, ha ha ha, I'm an author. It was such a weird, such an awkward conversation.
Oh, wait,
so I deleted it.
Is Kate Golden your pen name?
Yeah, that's not my name.
Did I miss something? Amy, did we know that? Did I not know?
I knew that.
Do I know your real name?
I don't know.
I don't know Kate's real name.
I don't know your real name. I didn't realize we've been called.
By the way, not recording. I will totally tell you guys.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
It's totally not like a deep, dark secret. It's really just because I don't want. I'm not ready yet for the people that employ me to know that I am doing this when I probably should be working.
I respect that too. I mean, my boss knows that I have a successful podcast. his son is our intern.
Yeah.
Oh, how funny. Oh, I love that.
But when I start writing, that will be on the down low. Like nobody from work is going to know about that.
I thought I was like missing something. I was like,
I'm so sorry. I feel like I've lied to you.
I mean, I feel like you lied to me. I was like, did I miss? I was like, is Kate Golden not on the cover? I'm like, maybe it says something else. And now I'm just like,
how funny.
I don't even know who you are now.
You're like, who are you?
We were planning a game night.
I will be there. Me and Kate. Both versions of me.
That will be the first thing after we hang up. It'll be like, once the recording's off, be like, what's your name, please?
What is your name? It's also, okay, this is maybe TMI, but it's also, so I think I had said, if I relate to anybody that I've written, it's Mari.
Yeah.
And I think that Mari is very much driven by this like almost compulsive fear of like failure. Like can't, I'm afraid to do anything. So if I'm not good at it, like what's the point of doing it or what will people think? And I think it's a, eldest daughter of divorced. It's like a type A thing. Like, I think I've got a lot of reasons for why I'm like that. It's not totally uncommon, but I also am just like perfectionist. Like, feel like anything I do, I have to do the 150% version. And I think the pen name, like, I feel like I'm speaking to, kindred spirits.
Yes.
The pen name, for whatever reason, it's so silly, takes off an enormous amount of pressure because it feels like, whether the book or anything I write, this book or anything else, is successful or not, that's, that feels like a different version of me.
Yeah.
And my parents don't know, or well, like they know now, but like they didn't at the time when I was writing. And if it didn't do well, I didn't feel like they would care because they wouldn't know. And that there's something I think sort of special about that. It keeps it sort of like sacred, like it's its own thing. So even if I wasn't employed anymore, I think I would keep the pen name. I don't know. I have to think about it,
I keep it. It's my vote.
Yeah. I mean, you've started a brand and it makes sense. And a lot of authors do that.
Totally.
I'm actually more surprised at authors who use their real name than I am at authors who use a pen name.
Especially when you're writing like porn. Especially now that I've written what I've written in the second book, I'm like, people that I know can't
Hold up.
read
Now
this.
that is the teaser I want right there.
I think that leads to the last question.
Yes, that'll go.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Can you give us any clues as to what we can expect from Arwen's journey, or maybe have other projects in the works, beyond her and her journey? But yeah, like, what can you tell us?
Yes. Let's see. Okay. Well, this second book and the third one are significantly spicier than
Just
the first.
slow clap. Everyone, slow clap. Thank you. Thank you.
But I feel like anybody who loves the slow burn as much as I am, like, yeah, you love the slow burn because you love the payoff.
Yes.
Like,
you
gotta make it worth it. It's better because of that.
Yeah.
But you still have to give them the payoff. Yeah. At one point there was like 3 full straight chapters of spice, like without stop.
Hell yeah.
And at a certain point I was like, this is like a novella. Like something's gotta happen here. Well, I have to cut this down.
And the way that you left off the first book implies that there's still going to be a fair amount of slow burn. Is that too spoilerly? Do we need to take that out? Okay.
No. I answer that like I am part of this podcast.
No, I'm asking you. Like, again.
No, I don't think is a spoiler at
Okay.
all. I think that also, honestly, if you look at like the Goodreads or any of the comments on the TikToks, people are like, my heart, like, how could you have ended it like this? So I think most people know what they're getting into. It's actually, I don't think such a terrible cliffhanger, but yes, their love story is not done at the end of the first book, and it definitely doesn't resolve in the first few chapters of the second. It's a whole new journey that they're on.
Love it.
It's really, honestly, I prefer it to the first book.
Okay.
I think that I said to my friend, I was like, this feels like, I think there's a couple things. A, you have his perspective, which is like, to me, so hot. I'm like, I want to be in your brain and hear all the, piney, lusty things you're thinking about her. Because a lot of the times with these grumpy people, these grumpy heroes, they're like, okay. And you're like, but what are you thinking? I want to know. So there's that. And then I think also just like the level of, maturity, both like not just in the sex, but also they're growing, and you're on the journey with them. A lot more adventure, a lot more worlds. Like we're getting out of, the first book, really you're just in Amber and Onyx, and that's kind of it. You go to Peridot, briefly at the end. But this one, I think, you're getting to see a lot more of Evendell, which is, at least to me, it's exciting because I feel like I know the whole world. So I'm like, I want to share it with the rest of you. So I feel like those are good teasers for this one. Other stuff I'm working on. I mean, the tricky thing with publishing is you just don't know like when these things will happen or where, or, when, if ever, they will be written or, be published. But I have every intention of writing a book for Griffin and Mari. Giving them
that
their
was
own.
what I was going to. Okay. Yay.
They're so cute. I call them Marfin in my head. I want them to have their book. They won't get a whole series, but I want them to have one book. I honestly want that so much that I think even if in some world my publishing team was like, let's do something different next, I might just write it and self-publish it.
I know,
I want
that's the beauty of
people
it.
to read it.
You're like,
if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Question mark. I don't know if I am, but I love them and I want them to have their story. So like that I hope to write.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away, there's some things that will happen in the third book that will set up some more stories in this world, which I think will be fun.
Love it. Love it.
And then my sort of new baby brainchild, which is like way back in the recesses of my mind, because I have this book to finish and the next one and all these other things, is a new series.
Okay.
That I'm really excited about because I think the only thing I'll tease about it is that, we talked about Cain being sort of the Rysand, Damon, conflicted, a good person trapped in the body of somebody who's had to do shitty things for shitty reasons. But I also really like the girl who just falls for the like absolutely evil person.
Yeah.
And like that is an even slower burn because that person has to first become unevil before they're even capable of feeling love.
Yeah. It's those
so
are
that will
like
be
that story is for the girls the girlies, me, I am the girly who's like loves Reese, but at the same time is like, he could be worse.
He could have been gray.
Yeah, like I know, like
totally.
He's not that gray. We could go worse. It's like we could go harder.
Totally. It's so fun. I feel like all the different layers and versions of these like heroes that we love. And, you have the broody, intellectual, sensitive ones. And you have the ones that just are like smash, like the violent ones. And like, you have, all these, they're all great. But I have a soft spot for like the Spike and the Eric Northman, if you're like a True Blood fan, like genuinely evil, who had no intention of ever being not evil until they met her. And then they're like,
and they're almost like,
have to learn.
Like I'd go back to being evil. That's fine. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I do too.
I wish I had a more fantasy name so I could be like, you can name them Jacqueline, but that's just not a great name. So don't.
Ooh, by the way, they don't have a name yet. Maybe I will take it under advisement. I will put it in the list. I have a big list of names.
I call it there's bedroom names, and it's like the way that I describe it is like, can you imagine screaming this name in the bedroom? And I
Jacqueline, totally
too many. Jacqueline, like it's just too many.
Okay, but I will say I have a soft spot for the auntie nickname. Like I can't think of a good example now, but like, we all love the guy that gives her the nickname.
Oh yeah,
or for whatever book it is. Yeah. But I like the guy who she goes by a nickname, but he only calls her by the long version of her name.
Yep.
I can't think of a good example off the top of my head.
Name actually, guys do that because they can't call me because I go by Jack with everyone, and any guy that I'm romantically with will typically call me Jacqueline, mainly because they can't. They're like, I don't want a boy's name like to reference you by.
Oh, that's so.
So
funny.
it's not out of romantic.
Think it's also like
it's out of homophobia, unfortunately.
Well,
yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
I like it less, but I like it more when it's just like he's kind of insulting her. Yeah. Like it's like, no, I like to go by, Mary. And he's like, okay, Mary Ann. And you're like, asshole, but it's hot. I dig for whatever reason.
I get it.
Oh, can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can find me on TikTok at Kate Golden Author with underscores in between Kate and Golden. I mean, in between Kate and Golden Author. And then on Instagram at Kate Golden Author. And on my website, Kate Golden Books, which should have been Kate Golden Author, but I think it was taken.
Yeah, it happens. It's vicious out there.
It is, yeah, brutal.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for just being a wonderful human who we have enjoyed speaking to so much.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thanks, guys. Likewise, this has been so fun. Thank you guys for having me.
I mean, it's always, I feel like it's a win that for so many reasons, but it's like, oh, thank God I get to keep liking the series because you're pretty great. You're great yourself. So.
That's incredibly kind, and I know the feeling. Nothing worse than when you like love something and then you find out the person who made it sucks.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
No. Yeah, that was a real blow, an emotional blow for us all.
No, that's when I learned I'm really good at compartmentalizing. Actually, I mean, I learned that as a teenager, but
that's when I got into Manacled because I'm like, this is different.
Loved Manacle.
Yeah, we can. That's it for a podcast of another time.
Yeah. Well, I'm
I'm
sure we'll have you back because I will ask it. and thank you. So we'll talk to you later. Bye.
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 Thank you for listening to this mini episode of Book Talk for Book Talk. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com or via our Camflare voicemail system. Please visit booktalkforbooktalk.com for more information.
You can also follow us on TikTok or Instagram at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.